Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is June 28, 2021, and I thank you so much for joining me to discover the truth beneath the surface. So I've been on a coffee chat kick lately, and I'm going to continue. I found a better way to record in my car, and I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to continue to bring you this content as long as folks are enjoying it, and the feedback that I've been receiving indicates to me that people are resonating and enjoying with my on-the-go content, which is fantastic because I'll be honest with you folks, it's really the format that I enjoy the most. That and, of course, interviewing and having conversations with folks. So I'm going to continue to do these types of coffee chats, and hopefully I will continue to intrigue people with my analysis and my thoughts and the way that I break things down. And I really appreciate all of the positive feedback. As I've said many times, it keeps me going and it really fuels me. I mean, when I read some of the comments that people make, obviously some of the comments are going to be negative, but most of the comments have been just amazing and positive. And it really just, when I'm feeling a little bit tired or I'm not really sure if I want to record and do an episode or if I really want to sit down and work on one of my series on the Montauk Project or whatever it is, when I hear people telling me, keep going, keep doing what you're doing, and sharing their heart with me and telling me how much they're resonating with my content, it just gives me that extra boost that I need. And there's really no replacement for that, quite honestly. So you guys are really doing an amazing job keeping me motivated, because this does get to be a little bit, at certain points, it can be a little bit tiring. You can get a little bit down on yourself at certain points when you're not really certain whether or not you're having an impact or this or that. The natural human doubting process that we all go through. But it's the audience that really comes through in those moments and shines through. And as a creator now, I see how important the audience and the feedback from the audience really is. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I also wanted to mention I got my first strike yesterday on YouTube, though. Well, they took down my episode 52. So for those of you who discovered my content on YouTube and are really enjoying it, I just wanted to mention to you that I am on Podbean. I'm also on Rumble and BitChute. BitChute is actually where I started my channel, and I'll always be grateful for the folks that really were the first ones to discover my content on BitChute and start to develop my following. But I just wanted to mention that to folks out there who have been listening to me on YouTube. I'm hoping that I'll be able to remain on YouTube for as long as possible, but one never knows. So, and just in case you see my content disappear and you want to find it elsewhere, you can certainly look in those places, and God willing, you will find it, and I'll be there as well. So interesting how that works. Interesting how certain information, once you talk about it, really gets their attention. I've been talking about a lot of things, actually. I'm actually quite surprised that it took this long for me to get my first video taken down. Not that I was trying to, but actually kind of surprised that it did take this long. Perhaps it's because I'm starting to get more attention on YouTube, and therefore they're paying more attention. Their censors are paying more attention to me. But either way, I just wanted to mention that so folks understand that they can always find my material elsewhere if it continues to get taken down. Hopefully it won't, because I'm really grateful for the audience that I've been able to continue to build, and people have continued to discover my channel on YouTube. So I'm hoping that I can stay on there for as long as possible. And maybe if I get a little bit clever in terms of how I convey certain information, I'll be able to stay under the radar, but we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we're headed into yet another week in the beginning of what I have said will be a very hot summer. I don't see how it couldn't be, quite honestly. Things are heating up everywhere. And as we get closer and closer to July 4th, people are asking themselves all types of questions about the intel that's coming out. Now, we know that the military is headed to D.C. yet again for the third time, as I've talked about. And it's very perplexing because we know that D.C. is essentially a ghost town. And this has been well documented. Richard's citizen journalist many others have very, very convincingly proven that this is the case. And that what they're telling us is going on in D.C., specifically at the White House and in the Capitol, is in fact actually all just smoke and mirrors. So when you've got the military headed there now for a third time, you got to ask yourself, why? What is going on? Why is the military headed back there? Why are they putting barriers up and barriers down? And what is with all these helicopters? What is going on? And I think we have a pretty solid idea of what's going on. The only thing that we don't know, of course, well, the big thing that we don't know is how all this information is going to roll out. But I think it would be one heck of a coincidence if it turned out that there was a real reasonable and rational explanation as to why the facts aren't seeming to match up with the narrative of the mainstream media. And Joe Biden and his fake administration are really in control. I don't think that that's the case. I think that you guys know that that's not the case. I think the sense of frustration that we feel, of course, is that we can recognize this and nobody else around us can recognize this, but that doesn't change things. The truth is still the truth, regardless of whether or not somebody acknowledges it to be true. And a lie remains a lie, even if the masses accept it as the truth. Perception is not reality, contrary to popular opinion. Reality is reality. And that's what the Great Awakening is going to be about, isn't it? You see, we've been living in a fantasy world, a matrix that has been created, and one that has given us a false illusion of reality. This has been created for us. We've been born into it. We've been indoctrinated into it. And we have agreed that this is reality. This is the truth. So really what you've got is you've got a society, a whole world really, suffering from mass mental illness by design. Because we have been essentially forced to accept a system that is false. And there are two types of people in the world. There are people who have recognized the system as false, like us. And then there are people who have not, cannot, or will not, up until this point, entertain the idea that the system, that the world, that the whole paradigm is an illusion. But if you can't accept the truth, well, you're probably still asleep right now. And there aren't that many people out there who really can stay awake without hitting the snooze button. Because the world, the force of this deception and the force of this illusion is so strong. I mean, I'll tell you, there are times even when I recognize I get so busy with my day-to-day, I get so wrapped up in just getting by, paying the bills, paying the mortgage, all the stuff that you guys have to contend with on a daily basis. And I get so wrapped up in it that sometimes even I can still lose my perspective on things, and I can kind of get sucked back into this matrix. Because again, this whole illusionary system is all rooted in financial conquest and economic domination, and preoccupying all of us adults in this society with having to worry about so many different things, chief among them our health and our finances, and just basically making sure that we have enough to get by, making sure that we have enough to be secure. They're constantly keeping us in that frame of mind so that we can't ever recognize that the paradigm and and the system and the world that we live in is a constant rat race. I mean, we recognize that it is a rat race, but we don't. I think too many people, they don't recognize that this is all done by design. So many people think that the world and the way that it's constructed just sort of happened by accident or evolved naturally. And that couldn't be further from the truth. The reality of the matter is that the world that we live in and the system that we have that has created all of our stress, all of our anxiety, all of our sickness, and all of our disease, all of our heartache has been created by design by very, very evil people. And that's what's so frustrating is there are a lot of people out there who are asleep, who recognize that the world is a profoundly broken place, but they can't bring themselves to acknowledge or at least even begin to research the possibility that this could have all been done by design. The enormity of that truth causes their brains to short circuit. Why that is? Well, it's because of their programming. And I know I've been talking a lot about mind control, and I'm going to continue to talk about it because I've never in my life imagined that I would get to the point where I would discover how advanced the capability to control people's mind actually is. And that it's not just some esoteric thing where they're putting out certain frequencies into the universe and lowering our vibrational frequencies. That's part of it. That's ultimately what's going on. Yes, but they have the ability to literally control what we think about with computers. They can type thoughts into a computer terminal and cause those thoughts to be broadcasted into our brains. Because our bodies and our brains are really electromagnetic receivers. I've been getting into this, of course, with the Montauk Project, and I'm going to continue that series very shortly. I haven't had time to sit down and work on part 3 yet, but to finish it. I have worked on it. But that's really what this is all about, tracing all of this back. They have the capacity, going back many, many years, they've had this technology. It was very primitive at one point. But the mind control technology that they have now is just absolutely razor sharp. And of course, it all depends upon the credibility of the media. And that's the good news, is that the media credibility, the mainstream media, is going down and down and down and down. Which means that we have more and more of a window to be able to reach people, to be able to break through the conditioning and the mind control, to be able to teach them the truth. The media has always been the shield of the deep state, of the cabal. And once that shield has been hacked to pieces, then we can work on reprogramming people. And it's not even so much, I don't even think that's the right way to say it. It's not reprogramming, it's deprogramming people. So much of the way that we think and the way that our mind operates has been conditioned. And really all of the way that our mind operates until we become awakened has been conditioned, has been actually, our thought forms have been manufactured, folks. This rabbit hole goes a lot deeper than I think most people realize. Most of the things that I've talked about, as a matter of fact, as crazy as they may sound to some folks, it's only just the surface that we're talking about here. The the stuff that I've gotten into up until this point, a lot of it is really just the very beginning entrance of the rabbit hole. You can go a lot deeper. And we're only just beginning to unravel the truth. Actually, what we're really doing is we're unraveling the lies. You have to unravel the lies before you can get to the truth. And that's really the process that we've been going through, is identifying and unraveling the lies and then slowly beginning to understand the scope of the truth. And I don't think that I even have, at this point, a real sense of the magnitude and the scope of the realities of what's been done to us, how long, and how many things we've been lied to about, and what exists out there in terms of technology, in terms of our sacred texts, our history. How many things are out there that we've been lied to about? I don't even think that I can begin to understand the scope of that yet. And that's very, very exciting. Because even folks who are paying attention, like myself and you, we have an enormous amount of information to learn. And if you're like me, you love learning new information. You love learning truthful information. It's probably why so many people, even though they're not consciously aware of it, so many kids go through school and they end up having a very cynical and negative attitude and hating school. It's probably because they recognize on a lot of different levels that what they're being taught is a lie. Or maybe they don't know that it's a lie, but they know that what they're being taught doesn't seem to have any real relevance to them. Seems to be contrived, seems to be prepackaged, doesn't seem to have that authentic ring to it. Well, of course not. And that's not, again, I don't think it's, I'm not one of these people who's going to just across the board bash the entire educational system or bash all of these teachers out there. Yes, there are a whole bunch of teachers out there who are left-wing nut jobs. There's no question about it. But I also know that I happen to know some. There are some good teachers out there as well who are doing the very best that they can to try to break through the lies and break through the prepackaged narrative. But this is a very, very tall order. And even the teachers that are well-meaning, again, they're just products of the society that we've all grown up in. A society that they learned a whole bunch of lies as the truth. I mean, think about it. When all this information comes out, people who know the truth are going to become the new teachers, going to become the new leaders, the new politicians. However we reformulate our new society, we're going to become the new leaders because we're the ones who have a solid understanding, or at least a basic beginning of an understanding of where we are right now and how we got here and what we've been lied to about and where we need to go and what we need to do. The rest of the world is going to be completely shell-shocked. I mean, imagine all the people out there. Imagine the people who have been teaching history for years and years. And all this information is going to come out that's going to completely undermine everything that they've taught. And that's just one category. I mean, every aspect of our lives has been dominated and controlled by the cabal, which means that every aspect of our lives we've been deceived about, we've been misled, we've been misdirected. We need to relearn everything. And that's why I'm constantly harping on the importance and the role of patriots, because you guys may not know it out there, but you're going to have a very, very important role to play. Maybe you're just sitting there and you just think of yourself as a listener. Somebody who's tuned into the truth, but ultimately someone who's content to just listen to the truth and know the truth. That may be fine for right now, but very, very soon, you're going to be pushed into a position of leadership. And even if it's on a small scale, so to speak, within your own family, within your own community, within the people who, amongst the people who know you, you're going to experience a radical turnaround. I'm telling you right now. Especially those of you who are very vocal about your opinions, about your beliefs, and who are known in your communities as being the nut, as being the kook, as being the conspiracy theorist. Mark my words. You are going to be a leader in your community. The only thing that separates the kook, the conspiracy theorist, the nut, the only thing that ultimately separates that person from the leader, the person that's considered the leader, is the consciousness of the people. And once we break through, once all of this deception, this massive mouthpiece of deception in the media, and all of the leadership and all of the various tentacles of the cabal, once they're all taken down, and the truth doesn't have to compete with a constant barrage of lies, not just a constant barrage of lies, but an entire world, an entire illusionary world, a deception. The truth doesn't have to compete with that anymore. What's going to happen to people's minds? Well, their minds, once again, are going to become a blank slate. People that you couldn't tell anything to. People who wouldn't listen to you about anything. Maybe not right away, but those folks are going to become very open-minded. You know why? They're not going to have a choice. Human beings are creatures that adapt to their surroundings, to their new realities. All of these people who are living in this false reality and think that this is real, they're going to need to undergo a massive re-education process, even though I hate that term because it's so often used in the context of communism, socialism, and really what the Democrats anyways directed at us. They'd love to put us there in those types of places. I'm not talking about re-education camps. I'm talking about just re-educating people in a free society to understand the truth. We're way, way ahead of the curve, and we're being pre-positioned already as leaders. We are leaders. To be a leader is to be someone who is committed to the truth and has enough courage to speak it. And is willing to accept the consequences that go with that. Because they understand that without having that courage to speak the truth, if that goes away, if men and women don't have that courage anymore, then our entire way of life goes away. Freedom, as we hear all the time, freedom isn't free. We understand that. And so often, we put that in the context of the great respect that we have for our military and the sacrifices they make, which is 100% true. But freedom has to be safeguarded by the people, ultimately. The very freedoms that the military goes and fights for physically, we have to be the ones who uphold those freedoms, and the only way that we can do that is by exercising them. Because freedom and cowardice, they don't go hand in hand. Why have so many of our freedoms been infringed upon? Why have so many of our rights been eroded? It's because we've become a soft society. We've become, on average, I'm not talking about you, the audience. I'm talking about the average American. The average American hasn't found their courage yet. Let's just put it that way. Or has all the wrong conceptions. If you're looking to the system teach you about what courage is and what integrity is, forget it. They're going to try to pose as that. They're going to try to, the system is always going to try to create a counterfeit. And that's exactly what they do. But real courage is standing up for something, even if you have to stand alone. And that's what patriotism is. It's loving your country so much that you're willing to put your own self-interest on the back burner. Because you love your country so much, because you recognize that without those freedoms, without those rights, life isn't even worth living. And I know I'm preaching to the choir. I know that everybody out there in my audience, I'm sure, would rather go down fighting than live on their knees as a slave. Because in the end, all of us are going to die. Just like that. That's why I love that scene from Braveheart so much, where he rallies the army. I posted it on Telegram not long ago. But in the end, all of us are going to die. And the question is, how do we live? What do we stand for? You know, in that scene, William Wallace, he asks the army, he says, what will you do without freedom? And one of the soldiers there says, you know, the English are too many. We're going to fight. We're not going to fight for them. We're going to run and we're going to live. And Wallace responds, yeah. Fight and you may die. Run and you'll live at least a while. But dying in your beds many years from now, would you be willing to trade all the days from this day to that for one chance, just one chance to come back here and to tell our enemies that they may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom? Pretty sure I got that quote. Hopefully I didn't butcher it too bad. But that's what it comes down to. For me, that's why I love that scene. I love that movie. If you haven't seen Braveheart, my God, watch it. Stop what you're doing right now and watch it. But that's what it comes down to, folks. For me, it's live free or die. Because I am not going to live as a slave. I'm not going to live under communist rule. I'm just not, I refuse. I absolutely refuse. And if that means that I have to sacrifice my own life to fight back against that for the future of this country, for our children, then so be it. I hope it never comes to that. I hope that our fight, that our battles will remain digital, because I love life and I love living my life. But I know how badly our life and our way of life is under attack right now, and how much of a threat we face, which is the whole reason, really, ultimately, that I decided to do this podcast. Yes, I needed an outlet. Yes, I wanted to create a voice for we the people. But what really prompted me into action, into action, was the grave danger that we're in, was the grave threat that we face, and understanding that we've reached a crossroads. And either we the people stand up and fight for what we believe in, digitally, non-violently at this point. But either we do that, or we don't have a future. We don't have a way of life. It's one of the first concepts that I learned once I started to red pill and was listening to InfoWars, as a matter of fact. Alex talks about this a lot. Either we stand up, or we don't have anything. We've got nothing. And it's hard. I think it's hard for some people to imagine that, because so many people still have so much. Now, they still have their jobs. They still have their income. They still have their children, their safety. their health. And so it's hard for people to listen and say, well, if you don't get off the sidelines and join this fight and recognize this threat and confront it, that all those things can go away. A lot of people don't believe it. I did, though. And I know you did. I recognized the threat. And more people are as well, because again, this threat is becoming less and less theoretical and more real to people. Once the public consciousness has been convinced that it's been lied to and that it's under attack, everything's going to change instantly. Doesn't mean that everything's going to be fixed instantly, but everything certainly is going to change instantly. People's mindset. But the average person out there that's still asleep, they think that the government's their friend. They think that the establishment, that the system, that the media has their best interest in mind. And the minute they realize that that's not true, not only is it not true, but it's the opposite of that they've been under attack by these very same forces. Well, that's going to completely shake society to the core. And that, of course, is where we come in. And not just us, of course, we have our great leaders. We have our great president, whom we love. And many more leaders who will follow. Trump is the first wave. I believe that there are going to be many, many more leaders, many more great men and women, real leaders, people who love this country and love its people and who love humanity and want to see humanity thrive and want to see the sick get well and the poverty to be wiped out, people to be taken off the street, clothed and fed. People who want to see the world become a better place. That's the type of leaders that we need. And those are the type of leaders that we're going to get as soon as our consciousness in great enough percentage shifts in the right direction. I mean, we're getting closer and closer and closer. We're not there yet. But with every passing day, of course, as we've been told, and I do agree, and I'm seeing it more and more in my own experience, although not as glaringly as some of the insiders are talking about, but I am seeing it more and more that folks are waking up. That the fortress of ignorance is starting to erode a little bit, starting to get some cracks in there. And people are starting to become aware that something isn't right. And that's the beginning of a major revolution, a major period of change. That's what's to be expected. So, a lot of good things to look forward to. I hope your week gets off to a really, really great start. And hopefully you will enjoy. I've got a conversation scheduled for tonight with Omega, our second conversation. I'm really looking forward to that. A lot of people really enjoyed that format. So hopefully I'll get that out to you guys later on this evening, God willing. And I will be back soon with another report. Please do everything that you can to support the channel. Please donate on PayPal or Patriot if you can. Those of you who have, God bless you. The amount of help you've given me is just unbelievable. The amount of support. It's been amazing. And the more people that can offer that support, the more that I'll be able to dedicate more time and more energy and more resources to my work, to my content. Also, please hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to my channel on all of the platforms, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, and Podbean. And I will be back soon with another report. Thank you so much. God bless. Patriot out.